Looking at it from the client's perspective, so this is all as a candidate, but with a client, so what should founders or hiring managers look for when choosing a recruitment agency to partner with?
I think there's probably like a long list of things that you should be looking out for, and whether you do or not, that's your choice. I think recruiters' knowledge on the market, like, are they a specialist in their field? Do they say they are? Are they industry specialists? I think as well, like, asking if it's a brand new relationship, like, we've got everything ready to go, so we can answer these questions. I don't know about other agencies, but what's your stats? What's your success rates? That includes your fill rate, your time to fill, how many days would it take you to shortlist? Asking all these questions, and then kind of looking at like how active they are in general in the market. Like, do they provide market insights reports? Are they doing salary guides? Do they have? I mean, we've got a dedicated operations team within our organisation. A lot of recruitment agencies might not have the privilege of the resources that we have, and we obviously spend a lot of time, and it's so much value for us to have that. But it's like, what do they look like on LinkedIn? Like, are there reviews? We use a recruiter insider platform, which is essentially like a benchmark, that we actually have KPIs on it internally, where every sort of client that we've worked with, and candidates that we work with, they are sent a survey at the end, and then our KPI is that everyone has to get a score above 90%.
It's amazing, honestly, because I've worked with some recruiters from like the candidate point of view, and I've had just I had a really negative experience with one recruiter shredding apart the experience. Like, I've got a master's degree, and that's nothing. That's just paper. It's like, okay, like, way to push someone down. And then when she put forward, she's like, they'll be doing testing. I'm like, okay, can you tell me what it is? She's like, oh no, it's no big deal. So not really prepped properly. So then when I got to the testing, it's all on Excel, and I'm actually not really good at Excel. So I wish I knew, because then I really would have practiced it. And so then when I didn't do so well, she berated me. Like, oh, so embarrassing. I was like,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, like, this is not, as opposed to ask me how you in Excel, things that I would have said straight up, like, I'm not good at it. Like, I don't enjoy Excel, and, so yeah, it was just a really horrible experience.
Yeah. And yeah, you hear these things all the time. Like, we've won through this platform #1 agency for candidate experience for 5 years in a row, and that's absolutely incredible to us. And that is literally, I'm saying that, like, the majority of our consultants are scoring like 98-99% candidate satisfaction from these surveys. And it's like a long list of questions that candidates fill out after they've gone through an entire process with us. Now, if you know anything about recruitment, that is pretty much unheard of, but that's the standard that we hold. And we don't just say we're a human first recruitment agency, we actually want to act on it. And that's why we actually don't need them, but that's why we KPI that everyone has to get a score above 90%, because that keeps that standard up really high. And it's, but because it's embedded in our training, it's not, everyone does it without thinking, so it's not actually that hard to be nice.
But also consistently getting those high scores would also make you feel better as well. So like, make your team feel better and make them want to work better and do more and help, because it's the kudos that you get, and you're like, oh, I did that, and like, no one helped me get a score above 90 or 98.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah.
They love it, and they report on it to us every week, and it's always with smiles. And the thing is, what it also allows is this great experience for our clients, because by the time that candidate reaches you, because we've got such a thorough vetting process, and then because we put so much time and care into them, but when that CV lands on the client's desk, they're already like completely invested in the role. That leads to good tenure, and then we have like really regular check-ins, like post-placement check-ins, where we check in on the first day, after the first week, after the first month, all the way up to the 6-month mark.
I think what a lot of companies also forget is that the relationship starts during that recruitment process, and whatever that process looks like almost sets the tone for that whole employment. So if the process isn't great, and then just say the induction isn't great, the tone, it's the energy is set, and it does flow throughout the employment. And usually these people, they don't stay for very long. They're not committed in the heart. They just accepted the role because they need the money or whatnot, but they're not really committed. And I think that when a agency really focuses on the people, they're going to put the right people forward. So the client, they're going to have a positive relationship and a connection immediately, because they can trust you now. They know they're going to put the right people there. They can get excited by that person as well. And I think that makes a big difference in just, as an agency moving forward in just B2B, that reputation gets built. And it's interesting because like I worked also for a recruitment agency, and I also had KPIs, but those KPIs were how many positions can I fill, the dollar mark, and as a team, if we got X dollars, like sold sales of then we get rewarded. But if we don't meet it, so it's not about the connection or the relationships, it's about how many positions we can put forward. So then you get that pressure of, well, maybe I should push this candidate a little bit, even if I know they're not exactly the right fit. Just tell them, oh, they're fine, and no, there's nothing really wrong with them, and to find out that there's something really wrong and not a good fit at all.
It's look, we obviously have certain standards around everything. Like, at the end of the day, we want people to be placed in as many roles as possible. But I think fundamentally, you need to get like the actual foundations correct of what you're actually doing, because otherwise it just starts to get desperate. And I'll probably speak about it further down, but it's like then the quality and the standard set as an industry in recruitment, it can vary so much from agency to agency. It really just depends. Like, if you are looking to work with an agency, you kind of need to do your research, and you need to understand like what you're going in for, because some agencies might have lower rates, but at what cost does that process come at?
That is so true. It's you get what you pay for, and it's sometimes when things are really affordable, and then I think, why is this so low? And I mean, sometimes things are great, they're cheap and they're great, and and if it say it's a product and it does break quickly, then you're like, oh, well, I didn't spend much money on it. But when it's something like your career, when it's that you want to be going with an agency that prides themselves and ranks themselves well, which means that they have a good commission percentage, because then they know that they're worth it, because their work relates to that.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this topic,
we just wanted to check in and say that if you believe that you need some assistance and that we could help you, reach out to us today, check out our website, join our newsletter. We'd love to be in touch.
We wanted to quickly mention that subscribing to the podcast is the best way to support the show and ensure you never miss an episode. It's super easy. Just click the subscribe button whenever you're listening. Thanks for tuning in. Long term, it pays off, because like if you're a candidate and you're investing in your career, you got to think about what that investment will result into. So let's just say even like a resume, right? Getting a good resume or interview coaching, whatever it may be, that's going to result into this X job that's going to pay you this much money. Well, then you'll pay off that investment within a month. Within your first paycheck, you would have paid it off. And moving forward, you've got years of this career. And the same goes to companies. So it costs a lot of money to hire someone and train them, invest in them, only to lose them and start again. So you want to get it right. So, and a lot of companies also might be a bit nervous to get it right. So having a good recruiter who understands people, they can feel a bit more comfortable, like they have that discussion with someone who they can trust. Like, what do you think of this candidate? And then you can put forward your perspective from the human side, because I find a lot of managers, let's just say we're doing with like engineering, they understand engineering, they understand what makes a good engineer, but that's not enough. You don't need just the skills, you need that cultural fit, you need that attitude. Can you work with this person long term? And you bring in that perspective, you can see that, while others may not be able to see that. It's that emotional intelligence that a good recruiter should have. So it works kind of both ways. The investment that a candidate has, even a candidate investing in building the relationship with you and understanding what you can offer them and invest in their time to talk to you and go to those 2 interviews. I find a lot of people don't like going to multiple interviews. They're like 1 or 2. Why do I have to go to 7? And it's a process, and it goes both ways as well. You get to understand the role better as well. You can make that decision if you want to work there too. Just as important. So
I think the role that the recruiter plays in a job search is honestly, it's quite critical at times. There's so many people that, like you say, if an organization puts up a job advert and gets applications, they're only looking at their experience. We're looking at everything, and we can tell if we're working with a company closely. We can tell from meeting a candidate, we're doing that part for you. We can tell if it's a culture fit or not. And so we can advocate for that person and be like, they're, by the way, on paper, they might not be the shiniest, tool in the box, but actually we've met them and we know that you as an individual and as a company will love them. So why don't you meet with them? And it's just, you can't get that from just applying directly for roles yourself.
I wish you could send a little memo. Hey, I can do the job.
I mean, you can do cover letters and things, but do you know what? I hate to say it, but like, I don't think many people read cover letters. So
50-50.
Yeah.
We speak to a lot of people and other recruiters as well, and they say some do, some don't. So they usually do if they wanted to know more information. So if they feel like there's a few maybe achievements missing out, let's check their cover letter, and then usually they then go to LinkedIn.
I guess from us, we just pick up the phone so quickly. We kind of get their cover letter over the phone.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I always say for candidate to put in a cover letter, because as I said, it is 50-50. They will read it or they won't read it. It's one or the other. But it's better to have one and them not read it than not have one and they're looking for it. Having a base cover letter template and just editing it by personalizing it, you don't have to invest as much time on the cover letter, in my opinion, as you would in making sure that your resume aligns to the job or you're presenting the right information in the resume. Because I know I've read some cover letters, I was like, ooh, this person sounds great. And then look at the resume, and the resume is so bad, I don't call them. So it's still the resume that gets you to pick up that phone. But the cover letter is a nice addition, especially if it's a career change. You get a chance to sort of explain your thoughts and goals in that cover letter. I come from this, but I'm moving to that. You can elaborate.
A good LinkedIn as well.
Well, at this stage, I think a LinkedIn's probably even better than a resume and cover letter. But
yeah, for sure.
People still using that, because I always tell my clients that your LinkedIn needs to be your resume on steroids. You can't put everything into your resume. That's why you add more information on LinkedIn, because usually from the resume, if they want to know more, they go to LinkedIn. So you have to give them more because they want to know more to your story and they're looking for more information. So if your LinkedIn is not doing that, then they're left with itching their head like, oh, I don't, and yeah, maybe they'll call, but if they're not completely convinced and they've got a lot of other applicants, I think a recruiter may still make that phone call, but if it was direct with the company, maybe not, because they're like, no, I'm not convinced, next person.
What is a common mistake that job seekers make when they're first contacted by a recruiter?
I would say not responding quick enough. Like, agencies move quickly. So if you're approached about a role and you don't reply for, 2 days, the chances are you probably lost that opportunity. If you're interested in a role and you genuinely are, but you're a bit lax and you don't send your CV for a few days, again, you'll probably miss out on that opportunity. We turn around perm roles within 3 days, and that's from brief to submission. And then on temp roles, we fill them within the day. It goes both ways, of course. Again, like, part of being a good recruiter is being really transparent about timelines and actually properly communicating to candidates. I'm going to be shortlisting for this on Thursday. We'll need your CV by Wednesday evening. So we can format it and whatnot. But I think it's really, like, the biggest mistake is, like, if you're interested but you're just not moving quickly, like, that would be an issue. And I think a common mistake as well would be, like, It's totally okay to let us know that you've already applied for the role directly. Please do. It's embarrassing for us if we ask you, have you already applied for this directly? And you're not honest about that, because then we send your CV to the client and they say, we've already seen this CV. So please let us know about that. That's okay. I think a lack of transparency is probably always going to be the biggest mistake that a candidate.
Yeah. Well, this is again something we tell clients, is that it's good to have, even if you're not looking, we could be headhunted, right? So it's good to have an updated resume at all times. So even like once a year, you can just go and update, refresh it. Because when someone does approach you, they are looking to fill that quickly. They're not going to wait for you to go and take a couple of weeks, update, you take your time. But when I have, say, friends or client, anyone that comes up and says, oh, I've been headhunted, now I need a resume, they've never been told you've got until Thursday to give us their resume. So they're so relaxed. And I tell them that you need a bit more urgency. You probably need to have it done like yesterday. So, yeah. And that is all. And another thing is why I tell people you need a job search daily. And that includes things like checking your inbox and, networking, all that, because things move so quickly. That is here today, gone tomorrow, and that's the reality of it. Some people might not be in a rush and take their time. That's great, but sometimes job searching is like a full-time job in itself.
Absolutely.
And you have to be available.
100%.
Yeah, it's a hard one, but it's worth the investment though. The time you're investing time. And it's worth that investment if you are serious about finding new opportunities or...
Yeah, and it shows your commitment. Like, if you're going to move quickly, then it's going to instill confidence in your recruiter that you actually want the job. We've had so many strange experiences where the candidate's been really lax and communication's been slow, and coming back to us about an interview and what times they can do has been slow. And then it turns out that they, really did want the role, but the whole time you're just thinking, I don't think they want it. Like, I've not got confidence. And then if you're not instilling that confidence, then your recruiter will very easily go and look for other people in the meantime.
But that also not just makes you think they don't want it.
Yeah.
Makes you think, what are you going to be like in the job?
You're giving yourself, but it's not even that. Like, it's actually, you're potentially giving yourself more competition for this position, because your recruiter will look for more people to represent as well. We always shortlist, but if we've shortlisted 3 people and 2 people move to interview, but one of them we're not too sure about because they're not showing commitment, we don't just want one person there. So then we look for more. So really, if you aren't showing that commitment to the process, then the chances are you're just giving yourself more competition.
Very good points. And I hope people listening out there understand that, you don't have to be aggressive or nervous, but just be active.
Just be responsive. It's fine. Like, if we ask you a question, people are busy at their work days, try and come back to us that day. Or let us know. Like, we all know a huge percentage of the population are accessible to their phones regularly. So if you can't send a text or give someone a call back over your lunch break, then that's going to be...
Don't play hard to get. Yeah. This is not dating.
It's not going to work. No, not for us.
And I think one of the biggest things is coming across as desperate. A lot of people are worried that that's how they're going to show themselves. And I've even spoken to someone who once told me that they called a recruiter and the recruiter told them off and said, geez, you look desperate. Like, it's not a good look.
In a professional environment, if I ever heard anybody in our office saying that to a candidate, I would have the shock of my life.
Yeah.
Like, that just blows my mind.